is, sorry for that little delay, select your type tool. We want to make sure that you have Times New Roman selected, and you also want it to be bold. If you look in your control panel here, you should see the word character. If you don't see the word character, don't forget that all of your windows, of course, are under Windows. So you can always go to type and then character, and you would get your drop down panel for your type. You can always type in your font that you want to use. Please forgive my computer, it's spazzing out on me. But then you also have your drop down menu here. So you want Times New Roman, and you want it to be bold. Right now 21 points, somewhere in that range is good. Actually, I need it to be larger than that, but let's just go ahead and start with the 21 points. And you type in your letter. I was working with T. This gives me the opportunity to show you guys how to resize the letters, because you can resize them manually. Once you have the letter or word, whatever it may be, you're going to simply hold down your shift key, click, hold, drag. This is to constrain the proportions, because if you don't hold your shift key down, you'll end up distorting your type, and we don't want to use distorted type. Here, so I'll make it a little larger. Alright, the next thing you guys are going to do is that you're going to convert your letter into outline so that you can work with it as a piece of artwork and not necessarily a font, because when you're working with the font, it really is a grouped object, and if you notice, it's in its own bounding box and you can't really get to the edges of the particular letter that you have. So in order to do that, you would go to type and create outlines. Now you notice that you have anchor points around your type that you can actually manipulate if you needed to. See? But in this particular lesson, we don't need to manipulate that particular type. Alright, now that we have the type that we're going to use, don't forget you need to create a new layer for this particular letter, because it's going to get a little complicated the more you guys work with creating your Guilloche. And so you want to be able to edit it easy and not get yourself confused. Alright, so the next thing we're going to do is create a wavy pattern that's going to go inside of the type. So first, select your line segment tool. Just click once. You'll see the options to create your line. Here you want to enter 450. And that just gives you the length. And 0, because there's no angle, it's going straight across, and you press OK. Now notice, right now it shows that I have a line, but if I deselect, I have no line. Please make sure as you're working to always make sure that you have a fill or a stroke or both. Right now I have nothing, so I want to make sure that I have black for the stroke. And we're going to use a 80% black on this particular stroke. So you want to make sure you look over here in your color palette or panel if you have it open. Enter 80. You press return. And we also want it to be 0.25. Press return. If you notice, it looks really thin. And just for the sake of the tutorial, I'm going to make it a little darker so you guys can see it. Alright, there you go. Alright, now that you have this particular line, you're going to make copies of this line to use inside of your tool, inside of your letter that you created. So, in order to do that, you're going to simply clone your line. And cloning, I use cloning because I want you to know the difference between cut and paste. When you clone, you're able to actually move the object where you want it to be. When you copy and paste, it kind of goes where it wants to go. So right now I want the line to go straight underneath the line that I already had. So what I have is I have my cursor. Look at my cursor, how it looks. When you drag across an object, notice that the cursor changes. Not the bounding box, but the actual object. You hold down your Option key and you have two arrows, a black and white arrow. This indicates that you're getting ready to clone. You click, you hold, you drag. And since I wanted to go right underneath the line that I previously had, I'm going to hold down my shift key so that it stays straight. I let go of my mouse, then I let go of my keys. And then you'll notice you'll have the line right underneath it. So with the line selected, I'll do a Command plus D. Notice that it's going right underneath the line, and you keep going down. I'm doing this several times because I want it to be the size of the letter. And I think that will get it. I'm just going to select all of these to look to see if it's the size of the letter. Yes, pretty good. Alright, now, the next thing you guys are going to do is you're going to transform this particular set of lines to zigzag lines. So with all of the lines selected, you want to go to Effect, Stylize, Distort and Transform, Zigzag. When you're here, you want to change your zigzag here to 5. Make sure it's absolute. Your ridges are 20. And you want it to be smooth. And you can always do a preview to see what you're about to see. If you notice, nice wavy lines. I'll press OK. Now, the next step is actually getting your lines into your letter. Right now, the letter and the lines are the same color. Now, you're not going to use your original letter because you need that. You want to make sure you make a copy for your mask. So right now, if you do a copy right now, it's going to be your third letter. And this letter is going to be your mask for the letter. Everybody with me? So far you have 2 copies of your letter. And now you're getting ready to do the third copy, which is going to be the mask. Okay. And this all goes on the same layer because in order for you to create a clipping mask, the object that's going to be used as a clipping mask has to go on the same layer as the objects that are going to be masked. Alright, so make sure you're using your layers. I'm not doing a lot of layers here because I'm already finished with the design. So right now you'll be creating a new layer for your, and it should be on the same layer with your lines. And so I'm going to pretend right now that I've just made a copy. Actually, I'll just go ahead and do it. Make a copy here. Alright, so now I have 2. And if you want to, you can turn the visibility of this layer off, the one that you previously had before you made this copy. That way you don't get confused as you're working. So, now that I have this, when you're also creating a clipping mask, you want to make sure that the object that's going to be the clipping mask is on top of the objects. So to do that, you just simply go to Object, Arrange, and Bring to Front. So if you notice now the lines are behind my my letter. Alright, the next thing you have to do is just simply marquee or select both the clipping mask and the object or objects that are going to be masked. Object, clipping mask, make. And there you have your lines. Now, since everything's supposed to be aligned so that you see your lines in your T, you're going to have to change your color of your lines. And you can do this 2 different ways. You can, actually, I just like you guys to just double click to enter the isolation mode. Excuse me, don't want to move that line. Select all of your lines and then make the line segment color white. Escape. Now when you click off, it looks like you see nothing. But don't forget we are on different layers. We want to make sure that everything's aligned. So you select both. If you turn the visibility off of the other layer, just turn it back on. Make sure that you're aligning to selection. You should see a little button up here. If you don't see that little button, don't forget, if you go to Window and then you go to Align. You get the drop down panel instead. And in your drop down panel, you will see this little button here. And since mine is up there, I don't see mine down here. So you will see this button right here. It'll be down here in the corner of the Align panel. Close these. So I want to make sure that I'm aligning to selection and not the artboard, because I'm just trying to make sure that the clipping mask and my original letter are aligned. So horizontal and also middle. Alright, so now you have that particular clipping mask done. Just for the moment, I'm going to move it just because I got layers all the way over there. Now, you're going to make another design that you're going to put inside of the same clipping mask. So I'm going to stick this back together just so you can know what you're looking at. Don't forget, these are two different objects. You have the original or the copy of your original tee. Then you have the clipping mask with your original tee. So next, let's go ahead and create the next design that's going to go into, it's going to look like it's inside of the tee. Alright, so let's move all of this out of my way and close this up. Go away. There it goes. Alright, so the next thing you guys are going to do is that you're going to create something called a rosette. And you did that before when you did the little spinning thing right here. Okay, so you want to get your ellipse tool, click once, and you want to make sure that your circle is 280. Notice I have none and none here. So this will have a white fill. Actually, I want a none fill and a white stripe. Okay, next thing you guys are going to do is that you're going to transform this once, and then you're going to transform it again. So with the rotation tool, you're going to option click. So I am holding down my option key on my keyboard, and I'm clicking right down here at the bottom on the anchor point in the center, bottom. You get this little menu up. You're going to press 6. If you want to see the preview, you can see that it moves slightly. And then I copy. So now I have two of the same circle, but at a 6 degree turn. So now I'm just going to do a transform again, which is Command plus D. And I'm going to do that all the way around. And you can hold it down, the Command plus D, and I like to slow down when I get to the top, just so I won't do an overflow. Alright, now that you have this particular rosette, this rosette is going to also go into your tee. So the first thing I'm going to do is to pick up my original tee, which is here, make another copy of it. You're still on the same layer, but you're making another copy. Edit copy, edit paste. Alright, so this tee is going to be a clipping mask for this. Alright, so you're going to have clipping masks layered over each other. You can also enter this particular design into the same clipping mask, but that may be a little too confusing for you for right now. So let's stick with this. Alright, so don't forget that your tee has to be on top of the rosette. So object, arrange, bring to front. Put it over the front. And what you want to do when you're creating your design for this is that you don't want the center of your rosette to be really seen, because it will become way too confusing. So right now, just so I can show you how to edit it, I'm going to put these right in the center. Well, I don't want to resize my letter because I do want it to line up with the other letters. So I'm going to make my rosette a little bigger here, and then put my letter here. Don't forget, the clipping mask, or the object that's going to be used to do the clipping, has to be on the top. Another thing, just so you won't get confused, is that I'm going to go ahead and change the color of this to my white. But then I'm going to make the lines, I think they are a tad bit heavier than the previous design here, because you want a little contrast. You don't want them to be the same point size. Alright, so let's bring my clipping mask back over here. Select everything. Object, clipping mask, and make. Now I have my design inside of my mask. Just so you can see it, I'm going to move it over here. See, there's the second design. There's the first design. And if I get closer, you'll see where the contrast comes in. See the difference between the lines? I have a thick design here, and then a lighter design there. And you can always change the arrangement of which one is on the top, which one is on the bottom. But now I want to show you how to rearrange your design once you've already have it in your mask and you realize that you want to change it. If you look here in your control panel, there's two things you can do. You can edit the clipping mask, which was your letter, and you can edit the contents, which was your rosette. So if you click once, notice you have the rosette there. And so since I don't want it to be in the center of my T, I'm just going to slide it over a little bit to the right. You press escape to see where everything is. I'm just going to move it back over to see if it's in the middle. And see if you notice it's no longer in the middle anymore. And you can line these up by going to, don't forget I'm aligning to an object, not the artboard. If you notice, I have this open here, which I don't want. So I'm going to click back on my design here, edit the contents, and I'm going to make this larger. I'm holding my shift key down, by the way, to constrain the proportions. Alright, then I click off, and then I'm done. So you have the opportunity here to learn how to organize your layers, making sure that you have everything on a different layer. But anything that you're using with the clipping mask has to be on the same layer because they have to see each other. Layers are like acetate or plastic sheets of paper that reside on top of each other. So whatever exists on the layer above it, everything there can interact with each other. But anything on another layer can't interact with each other. So that's why you want to make sure that your clipping mask and the objects that are going to be clipped are on the same layer. Please make sure you are taking a few notes. You're practicing as you go through these because I know it's a lot of information. And we're doing some complex things here. So you want to make sure you understand what's going on, so when you do your performance assessment and you do your reflection, that you know what you're talking about and you're able to do it, write about it, and talk about it. Okay, that's it.